I don't know. Maybe I'm overestimating ISO, but I feel like it's his time, and Roglic and Yates could be not as good as they were in the past.
Yeah. Listen, that's for sure. Roglic and Adam Yates are obviously at in the downward curve of their career, but still strong, still capable of being in front.
Everybody, welcome back to the Move Plus, which is returned for this week, our weekly show. I'm Spencer Martin. I'm here with Johan Bruyneel that we do to sum up the racing that's happened, a few topics of the week that have come up, as well as any listener questions. If you want to ask Johan questions on this show, send them in to info@wedo.team. But before we get into Matteo Jorgesnon at Paris-Nice and what's going on at Tirreno-Adriatico, who's going to win that, I want to talk about our sponsors. Our first one today is Peak Teas. I love a good cup of coffee until it loves me a little bit too much. The jitters, the crash, the why am I already on my third cup? That happens to me all the time. Feeling. And that's why in the morning, I've been reaching for my Nandaka by Peak, a rich coffee alternative that gives you clean energy and focus without the downsides of caffeine. It's packed with wild harvested adaptogens like chaga, reishi, and lion's mane. I'm sure I crushed that pronunciation. Lion's mane, the kind of stuff that helps your body adapt to stress, support immunity, and keep your brain sharp. And the best part, it's smooth, satisfying, and actually tastes amazing. None of that weak, watered down substitute nonsense. So whether you're training or just trying to stay locked in, Nandaka delivers steady, jitter-free energy that lasts all morning long. And for a limited time, get 20% off for life. That's crazy, by the way. You should go right now and redeem this. I thought it was a typo the first time I saw it. 20% off for life, plus a free starter kit when you grab, and that includes a rechargeable frother and glass beaker. I'm going to redeem this right when we're done with the show. When you grab the Pour bottle with our link, peaklife.com/themove. That's peaklife.com/themove spelled out. And with Peak's 90-day money-back guarantee, you've got nothing to lose. Try it now at peaklife.com/themove and feel the difference on your next ride. Our next sponsor is AG1. In cycling, we know that consistency is everything. The same goes for fueling your body with healthy nutrients. That's why I start my day with AG1's, vegetable supplement. But it has all the nutrients you need that you can get instead of eating your greens. I think everyone knows about Lance's struggles with greens. I also have the same affliction. So one scoop once a day, and that's all I need to get going. AG1 is science-backed, all-in-one foundational nutrition formula packed with 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and adaptogens designed to fill the gaps in your diet and keep you performing at your best. My fitness and health not at a high point at the end of 2024. So for 2025, I've committed to turning my health around, and my daily practice, as well as in addition to a morning treadmill, includes a daily shot of AG1 straight into my morning cup of water. I drink that. I'm ready to go and on my way. So whether you're grinding out long miles, traveling, or just trying to stay sharp, AG1 makes it super easy to support your energy, recovery, gut health, and immune system, all without a million supplements cluttering up your counter. So if you want to try AG1 for yourself, right now is the perfect time. All you have to do is you can get a free starter kit, by the way, a bottle of D3K2 and 5 free travel packs in your first box if you redeem the code THEMOVE at drinkag1.com/themove to get that offer. That's drinkag1.com/themove to start your new year on a healthier note, as well as redeem all the little gifts that we just talked about. All right, back to the show. Johan, to keep this intro short and sweet, we've had 2 races going on. Paris-Nice, these are 2 week-long stage races. Paris-Nice, Tirreno-Adriatico. Cliff notes, Paris-Nice is in France, Tirreno-Adriatico in Italy, between 2 seas on either side of the country. Matteo Jorgesnon, the American, the defending champion, is winning Paris-Nice, currently leading it. Got a big boost today after his Visma team just shredded the field in the crosswinds. We didn't really see it. It was like right when the TV was starting, TV coverage. They were joined by Ineos and Matteo Skelmoza. So all those guys had incentive to keep going. They blew the gap open. Looks like João Almeida's probably out of it. Jorgesnon closing in on his second consecutive Paris-Nice win at Tirreno-Adriatico. It's been a weird rhythm. That's kind of a weird design. It's strangely designed race, we'll say. Juan Ayuso is in second behind Filippo Ganna by 22 seconds. Summit finish tomorrow will decide it. But what have you been thinking as you've been watching these races? What's sticking out to you the most?
Well, first of all, and as I received a few messages from ex-colleagues, retired guys, old guys like me, we're all thinking the same. This brings back such bad memories. These races like Tirreno and Paris-Nice in the bad weather, the cold, the wind. Today was a perfect example, I think, in Paris-Nice of how horrible it was. Even if it's a very long time ago that we're retired, it still brings back flashbacks of that misery we all got. And I think in Paris-Nice, it's quite clear. Matteo is in pole position without anything unforeseen. I'm meaning, accident, crash, or material problems. He's my big favorite to win. He has shown that he's extremely strong. Tomorrow is a hard stage, but it's shortened because of the weather. But it's still uphill finish. I think the last 7-8K. It's a climb. He knows these climbs. He lives in that area. And then the typical stage on the last day, that's always a tricky one, right? Because sometimes it's hard to control. But the way he's riding, the strength of his team, and now with Almeida and others out of the picture, his two main rivals are Skelmose and Florian Lipowicz, surprisingly strong in second position now. We could say surprisingly, it's not such a big surprise because I think we all saw for the first time Lipowicz last year in the Tour of Romandy coming to the front, and he did a great Vuelta afterwards. He's still young. He's the white jersey leader. I think Jorgesson. This is Jorgenson's race. Very confident he's going to defend his title.
Yeah, I'll just also a little bit of background. Stage 6 was today. I didn't say, but won by Mads Pedersen out of that reduced, let's say 15 rider front group. It also freezing cold day, 15 rider front group. Mads Pedersen's in it. That's as close to a home run as you can get. He feasts on that type of finish. But Jorgesson, is 40 seconds over Lipowicz, who, I guess it's not surprising, but it is kind of surprising to see a young rider. He kind of broke onto the scene last year, and then to be able to sustain that excellence in a big race like Paris-Nice with this is not an easy race. There's a lot going on. A lot of people want to do well. So it is kind of surprising in the sense that he's been able to come back the next year and almost look like he's improved. Skelmose is in third at 59 seconds back. Tymon Arnsman, who was in that move today, 120 back. He's on Ineos. And then Joao Almeida in fifth at 240. So we'll get to the Jorgesson, Jonas Vingegaard kind of strangeness, and then also Jonas crashing out. But before we do that, Joao Almeida, what is going on here? I've not seen a rider that can look. This is the second time this year where he's destroyed a summit finish. What was that? Back on stage 4, looked incredible, just like he did at Algarve. And then what happened in the team time trial? His team was terrible. And then just missing the move today. It's I don't fully get what's going on there.
Well, missing the move today, I think, today it's a matter of who can keep pedaling. And I don't think Almeida does very, very well in the bad weather. These are horrible days, man. And if you just miss it by 10 meters, it's over. It's over. Now, if you're a contender for Paris-Nice and you see that Visma is getting together and going to the front, it's hard to miss.
You would think that with alarm bells might start ringing if you saw that.
Yellow. But his whole team missed it. The whole Bahrain Victoria's missed it. There's a bunch of teams that had certain ambitions for GC, and a bunch of them missed them. Lenny Martinez lost 9 minutes today, and he was looking incredible yesterday, right? Anyway, that's kind of to be expected. He's a super lightweight, pure climber, can't really do anything else than climbing. So I actually had, I have, these debates with my son, because he's following cycling now really, really closely. And he's kind of a fan of Lenny Martinez. And, I said, yeah, well, listen, let me tell you, Lenny Martinez, never in his career is he going to win the Tour de France. He's not able to win the Tour de France. And my son says, oh, why? So he can only climb, and not even, it's still to be seen if it's a big mountain stage with several mountains, if he's up to the task, right? He's a really good rider, but he can't time trial, and he can't ride on the flats, and he can't ride in the winds. You can never win the Tour. It's as simple as that. So, he didn't see the finish of the stage, and I was kind of happy to rub it in his face and say, hey, Lenny Martinez, 9 minutes.
poor Lenny, just taking
Those
shots in the
Bruyneel having on here at our house. Those are the debates.
But you bring up a good point. So stage 5 was a steep finish, like a kilometer steep. You would not say that good for Jorgesnon. He got smoked by Lenny Martinez in the sprint, but that's what Lenny Martinez does. He's so small, he's so explosive, he's going to do well. Where things get complicated for him, like outside of today, where he just probably doesn't have the power or racing type to be in that front group in the crosswinds. But if you really think about long climbs, like especially at the Tour, it's really the time trialists that do well. It's people like Matteo Jorgesnon.
Yeah.
Like you have to be able to put out a lot of power for a long time. So that would also be a concern of mine about Lenny. But to go back to stage 5, Jorgesnon doesn't care about the stage win. He got third. He got a time bonus. He dropped João Almeida, which was key. And then his teammate, Jonas Vingegaard, he fell earlier. I didn't see it. I don't know if it was on camera, but he didn't look that banged up. But his hand appeared not to be okay.
No,
and he couldn't really stand up.
He had his lip was split. There was blood. But apparently he had problems with the hand. And then I read an interview of Kampenaerts afterwards that he couldn't shift or he could almost not brake. So they already knew that something was going on. Then I saw the interview also of Grisha Nierman that said this morning, we already knew yesterday that he was out. He said, we would have to count on a miracle. And as far as I look on the map, we're not that close to Lourdes, where the miracles are. So I think, it was to be expected. And yesterday, Jonas had told Jorgesnon already that he was not feeling good, so he could go for it. Now, speaking of Visma and Jonas and Jorgesnon, and we've been messaging about it. When was it? Stage 3 or stage 3? I guess, or stage 4. Stage 4, the day after the team time trial. Jorgesnon was in the lead, uphill finish. There's a selection, and to our surprise, we see Jonas attacking, not once, not twice, 3 times. Takes off. Matteo is having a bit of problems. He didn't lose a lot of time, but still, you could say, well, we have 2 leaders, and we want to make sure that we cover all our bases. That's and Jonas went there with ambition. I personally, and this is just me, right? If I would be the director or the manager of the team, I would have tried to convince Jonas before the start of Tirreno, because they all know how good they are, right? They all know at which level they are, and if you have a guy like Jorgesnon in your team, who's defending champion, who's super ambitious to try to win again, I guess I think from before the start of Paris-Nice, it should have been clear, if it would have been my team, that this is Jorgenson's race, and Jonas has a free role in case Jorgesnon gets in problems, but he should put himself at the service of Jorgesnon, because Jorgesnon is of an unbelievable value for Jonas in a lot of other races. Whether Jonas wins Paris-Nice or not, it doesn't really matter. If Jorgesnon wins Paris-Nice, you have an extremely good rider with a great result, happy and super committed to the leader later on. I'm not saying that Jorgesson is not going to do that now, right? Even if Jonas would win Paris-Nice and Jorgesson get 3rd or 4th, he would still do his job. But it's these little things that I think that in this case, a guy like Jorgesson should have gotten more of a leader's role than Jonas. And it's something that I've seen a few times already with Visma. You know, they have a really strong team. They have great results. But sometimes it's difficult to find like a really designated leader. You know, I think nobody has forgotten the Vuelta of 2 years ago, for example, right?
Yeah.
When they had three guys and they were top three, but they couldn't pick a guy.
Well, it's the same thing that it really bothers me. And it's Jonas every time where he attacks the yellow jersey in his team. It was more so with Sepp than with Matteo, but they're kind of looking around like, what do I do? Because I'm losing the race. It's like punching someone with their hands tied behind their back. Because what are they going to do? They can't chase you down. And it just, to go to like the root of the issue, it just feels strange. Even if you win the race, let's say Jonas stays away on stage 4, wins. Is that the best thing for his tour? I just don't get that, because then what? Matteo's kind of mad at you. Why are you doing this? Wouldn't you want to build goodwill?
Yeah. I mean, that's my way of thinking now. I mean, we don't know what the agreements were within the team, right, and what they have spoken about. But and also, you know, in their favor, you have to say Paris-Nice is a strange race. You know, it's often won by not much time differences. So
yeah.
You never know, right? It's not like a Grand Tour when somebody shows that he's the best while he's winning, right? I mean, this is different. But you can know. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Matteo was probably the strongest in the team time trial already. These guys know that, you know, amongst each other. They feel how strong their teammates are in their. So Matteo was not the strongest on stage 4, but he was in the lead, and he would have kept the leader's jersey for sure. So you know, it was up to UAE basically to put the hurt on Matteo, right, and not his own teammate. If it's UAE who attacks and then Jonas follows and sees that Matteo can't follow, I said okay, but not with Lenny Martinez, and then just go for the stage win with the risk of putting the leader's jersey in problems.
And what we haven't mentioned yet is it was terrible weather on the stage. They stopped multiple times, like really the worst stage you could possibly ever try to defend a jersey on a steep final climb, because you're standing still. I think they like stopped it. People were getting dressed. Still not a great situation, because it's like, oh, it's hailing. Let's stop. And now we're standing out in the hail and we're getting colder.
That's the worst. I mean, stopping and then restarting, that's the worst. I mean,
and you'd think in that situation, I mean, maybe Matteo didn't say it. I would say it. I would say, hey, man, I'm not feeling that awesome. Let's try to ride this climb as slow as possible. Like, let's just minimize what could go wrong today.
But but you don't know until it really matters, you know, because let's not forget they stopped for quite a while. Then apparently, I don't know which. I saw that Movistar was with 4 or 5 guys like going straight from the restart. Like,
and then did you see what happened to them? And then Mads Pedersen got to the front and said, "See you later," and just dropped the whole Movistar team.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's difficult situations. Then there's also the debate: well, should they have stopped? I don't want to sound. I mean, I know I'm going to sound like an old grumpy guy, but I've seen a lot worse. And back in the days, with the clothing was nothing compared to what they have now. The race just kept going. You know, I think we all know the images of, you know, the Giro over the Gavia, and you know, when Andy Hampsten won the Giro, and Paris-Nice in the snow, and okay, if it's snow, it's snow, and but you know, it was not snow, it was hail. Once you stop in those circumstances, man, it's difficult. I think the decision should be made then, okay, this is over. Let's just, you know, not start anymore. In a restart with 20K to go or 25K to go, that's not good.
No. I mean, the whole thing was a mess too, because you have some riders saying, we want to stop. It's very complicated. It must be complicated on the ground, right? For the commissaires. Because like some guys are saying they want to stop. Do they represent the whole Peloton Ineos is attacking. They don't want to stop. But what I guess we should, to put a bow on this, the worst part about this is if he goes on to win the stage and get a big time gap, it's one thing. He gets caught and creates a situation for Almeida to take time on both himself and Jorgesnon. So it's like the worst possible outcome from what he did.
You don't know what's going to happen, right? What's clear is that, well, first of all, I think he was also suffering from the cold, for sure. Everybody was. So, you're not your usual self, and until you really go 100%, you don't know how your body's going to react, right? So we saw Jonas attack, dropped Martinez, took a gap on the other favorites. Everybody was thinking, okay, Jonas is going, and this is it. But he didn't create a big gap. He took 10 seconds, and then it was down to 8, then to 6, and finally didn't win the stage. So this was obviously not yet the 100% strong Jonas. We've already seen that in Algarve, right? I mean, he won Algarve, but he was not superior. He was, he lost a bit of time in the uphill finish, and he won the time trial.
Well, yeah, and even so, setting aside the injury and that summit finish on stage 5, so he's had 2 healthy summit finishes this year, both times beaten by Joao Almeida. Are we concerned about this?
That's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And Almeida is a lesser version of Pogačar. So if you're not beating Almeida, you're not beating Pogačar. Everybody, this episode is brought to you by THEMOVE. Let's be honest, cycling isn't great for your skin. Whether you're riding on a warm, sunny day or through cold and dry conditions, your skin's going to need a little bit of help when it gets home. That's exactly what THEMOVE is here for. Their high-performance skincare is designed specifically for men, simple, effective, and backed by science. In a consumer study, 100% of men who used the product said their skin looked smoother and healthier afterwards. And that's because THEMOVE spends years developing and testing each formula with leading cosmetic chemists to make sure it actually works. If they don't love it, they don't release it. They have a wide variety of skincare products, but my favorites are, number 1, the Clean Slate, a morning and night essential. It's a cleanser that uses breakthrough plant-based ingredients, probiotic ferments, and gentle PHAs to cleanse and rebalance natural oils and gently exfoliate skin without drying it out. And it's great for washing all that grime off your face after a long day in the saddle. The eye serum helps reduce the appearance of tired eyes. I need this more than anything. Dark circles and puffiness with a breakthrough peptide complex and adaptogens that support skin resilience. It will have you looking well rested, even if you had to wake up at 4 a.m. to watch the beginning of the Tour of Flanders and then do a podcast about it later that day. Just key for me. Also, the base layer, a nutrient-rich moisturizer infused with plant stem cells and snow mushroom extract, known for their deep hydration and skin rejuvenating properties. It absorbs fast, leaving a non-greasy matte finish so your skin feels hydrated without the shine. Obviously, they make this for your face. A little bit of secret. I don't even know if this is allowed. I've been using that on my legs after I shave my legs. Keeps you from getting that dry, flaky skin down there. Keeps your legs looking good for the group ride. I would highly recommend it. So remember, skincare doesn't have to be complicated, but it should be good. Upgrade your routine with THEMOVE and see the difference for yourself today. Go to calderalab.com/TheMove and use the move at checkout for 15% off your first order. That's calderalab.com/TheMove spelled out. And remember, use code THEMOVE at checkout for 15% off your first order. All right, let's get back to the show.
Yeah, no, I'm not concerned about Vingegaard at all. At all. He's going to be fine. Obviously, this crash and this injury is probably a bit of but he can keep training. I guess his next race is Catalunya, and then I guess the next one is the Dauphiné. So he has 2 more stage races until the Tour. And
are those really his only 2 races before the Tour?
I think so.
That's wild.
I haven't seen anything else.
This also shows us, I think if his hand's not broken, he's going to be fine. If his hand's broken, I guess there could be complications there, but
it's not broken. It's not broken.
I don't even know where that got started. I feel like someone said it on Twitter or something.
They said it's bruised. It's not broken.
Contusion. It does show you, we talk a lot about like Pogačar shouldn't do Roubaix because it's dangerous. It shows you just racing, number of days on the road increases the danger. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It was just a nothing part of a nothing Paris-Nice stage. And he crashed.
Yeah, and I don't know even if there was anybody else who crashed with him. It was not like a mass crash or something. He just crashed, in the middle of the stage. We don't know how or what happened.
And I'm slowly backing off even as Matteo Jorgesnon was doing so well at Paris-Nice, I was like, man, they just don't have any teammates. Like it's him and Jonas doing everything. And then today where his Visma team got to the front and just ripped the race to shreds, I'm slowly backing off I'm concerned about Visma take. I don't know how that's going to age because they looked pretty dang good today up there.
Yeah. Today they have, they have Affini, they have Campenaerts, they had, who's the other guy there? Bart Lemon.
Bart Lemon's been amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
Axel Zingel.
Axel Zingler, and
they have this guy Per Strand Hagnes. Do you know him?
He's Norwegian. Yeah, very, very strong. So obviously for today's stage, they had a great team. Uphill, it's not going to be easy. But then again, the other guys, his main contenders, who are now Lipowitz and Skelmoza, it's not that they have a few really good climbers to put the hurt on Jorgesnon either. It's going to be an individual race, man to man.
I think I said Skelmoza made the move by himself. That's not true, obviously, because Mats Pedersen won. But how about Lipowitz made it by himself? That's
no. He had somebody there. There was somebody there. Did? I think
Sobrero. Yeah. He's just not, because he finished like fifth on the stage.
Vlasov, nowhere to be seen, by the way. I don't know. He's Russian, but he doesn't like the cold, apparently.
Is that true? I think he's from like really far north.
I don't know.
And I mean, this will kind of take us into Tirreno. It's the same thing at both stages, but Ineos making the move today. So it was like really Visma and Ineos at the front. They don't really have a viable winner. Stuff would have to get really weird because their top rider is Arnsman in fourth at 1:20 back. But their racing through these two races this week has been night and day compared to last year. Like instead of playing defense, get riders in the front, set pace, let's get beat by Visma and UAE when we get to the final. They've just been like sending riders up the road constantly, and it's almost unrecognizable.
Not just in Paris-Nice, the whole season already. They're offensive. It's not like a GC team anymore, where all they did was riding. Even if they didn't have a GC contender, they were still riding. That's gone. I mean, I like it. They ride very aggressively, and ultimately it's going to pay off today. Listen, Darling almost beat Pedersen today. It was not that far off.
Yeah. And I feel like last year they would have like sat up. Oh, we have Arnsman, but let's wait for the group to catch on. I mean, did you notice yesterday it was stage 4 at Tirreno? I've never seen, like, Italy just has so many mountains. Like, we're nowhere near the Alps, and they go through like some central Apennine region, and it looked like they were like north of the Arctic Circle. They were on a plateau, like on what looked like high alpine terrain, and it was a little windy. And Ineos, they have the leader's jersey here with Ghana, and they just like put it in the gutter up on this plateau, like through the feed zone. I mean, it was, I haven't seen them race like that maybe ever, but they just ripped the race to shred. It ended up kind of coming back together. Milan was still off the back, so I guess that worked. But just their entire ethos seems to be transformed.
Yeah, for sure. I think they changed strategy, and I think, the way their team is built right now, that's the right way to do it. They don't have anybody who they can go to a stage race with saying, okay, you know what, we're the big favorite here. They're always like number 3 or number 4, number 5. So you can't bank on that with the whole team. I like it. I like the way they're racing.
So at Tirreno, we have I couldn't find any odds. So we're not doing outcomes today because the odds are like not up. I couldn't find them in any country, in any market. Maybe you could walk down to your local bookie and put a bet in. But last week I bet on Matteo Jorgesnon to win Paris-Nice, and I bet on Juan Ayuso to win Tirreno-Adriatico. I also bet on Juan Ayuso to win stage 1. Oops, that was a mistake. But he's 22 seconds behind Ghana. We have a summit finish tomorrow, but then he also, Antonio Tiberi, 29 seconds behind Ghana. Derek G, 34 seconds behind Ghana. So he's not by himself, but do you think Ayuso finishes this off? And then also, why does Tirreno just have one summit finish in a week-long stage race?
Yeah, it's a strange design of the race. From what I've seen until now, I think I've seen him as the strongest. If everything goes normal, I predict that he's going to win Tirreno. He should win tomorrow's stage normally, I think. Tiberi is there. Yeah, he's there. He's not far off. If Ayuso is a bit too, too generous with his efforts, because he's doing a lot of efforts, man, Ayuso. I've seen him already close a lot of gaps in this race.
Yeah, a lot.
They shouldn't have closed. So yeah, I think, but I still think Ayuso is the big favorite. Tiberi and Derek G. Derek G is obviously, he's in great shape also, but I think Ayuso's better.
So the final climb tomorrow is 7.8 kilometers at 7.9% average. So that's very hard. Yeah. Ghana's 22 seconds in the lead. I guess it's possible. Did you see today he had a mechanical or flat in the final?
Yeah, last kilometer,
I think if he would have needed to win today's stage, get 10 more time bonus seconds to even have a chance. Also,
still not going to be enough. I don't think. 8 kilometers, 8%, Spencer. That's it's not. That's not like the Cipressa or the Poggio or even Col de Rat, where Ghana did a really good time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I think that's a bit too. He's in great shape. And listen, somebody needs to bet on him for Milan-San Remo, by the way, because he's going to be there. But for tomorrow's stage, I think it's that time is too hard for him compared to guys like Ayuso and Tiberi.
And did you see who won today's stage? Uno X again. Frank Deverance is.
I was thinking about you. I was thinking about you, Spencer. On how you were going to pronounce this. Frederick. Look, the Dversnes.
The announcer said it almost as if it was a Flemish name. I'm like, I don't think that's how he would say that.
Yeah, what a win, man. He was in the break. He was the only guy left from the break, and then, I'm not going to say lucky. The attackers sometimes get fortunate because something happened in the back. There was 2 or 3 moments where they were looking at each other and there was no organization. There was not many guys left. Almost nobody had teammates left. I think Van der Poel was the big favorite, but he didn't have any teammates left. So, hey, amazing win for him and for that team. That team is doing really, really great.
Really, really great. I'm actually curious in like 2 weeks to check the UCI standings to see, because you're already seeing Astana as these races kind of ramp up in difficulty or competitiveness. The Astana tactic doesn't work quite as well.
Yesterday they were 2nd and 4th in the stage in Paris-Nice.
That is crazy. Hold on. Yeah. But that's less tactic and more like those guys are just really good. Clement Champuzan, the one who got second. Is that his first good ride in like a decade?
Well, he won a stage in the Vuelta a few years ago.
He won the stage 2021.
He was on AG2R.
AG2R. And then oddly, so he's on AG2R, goes to Arkea Samsic, I think making pretty good money, not a lot of great results. And then on Astana, it was a really good result yesterday. And then Harold Tejada, really good rider, got 4th. But I was going to put a bow on Tirreno, somehow finishes on it with a sprint. Also kind of weird. I don't fully understand why they do this race the way they do it. But what I was going to say is super hard racing. Like, I think, what was that, 2 days ago, stage 3? It was 240 kilometers long. Oh, wow. I assume Van der Poel is just here, like this is San Remo prep, and he's building into San Remo.
Yeah, it is. But, one thing that they can't control is the weather, so that's not ideal. But yeah, I mean, typically Tirreno was always the race, preferred race to prepare Milan-San Remo. The weather has been terrible, so I hope from tomorrow on that at least they have a bit of, at least dry weather. Paris-Nice, now they're going more south. Anyway, tomorrow Paris-Nice is also going to be bad, I heard. So it's only going to be the last day in Nice, hopefully for them, which is good weather. But yeah, I mean, Van der Poel is there with the intention to prepare for Milan-San Remo for sure.
And in terms of moving on from Tirreno, I think we both think Ayuso is going to win. I'm quite curious to see what happens, but I think Ayuso is going to win. And then UAE, here, let's say Ayuso wins this. He wins the Giro. Or if he wins this, would you have him as your favorite for the Giro?
No, not really. Roglic is going too, no?
Roglic is going.
Okay.
But, yeah. I mean, would you? Yeah. At what point does Ayuso? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I love Roglic.
He's good. He's good. But Grand Tours, he's done third in the Vuelta his first year, right? As a 19-year-old.
As a 19-year-old, yeah.
Yeah. Then last year, did he withdraw from the Tour? I guess so. Yeah,
I think got sick. I think with COVID.
Yeah.
He got fourth. I think he went back to the Vuelta the next year and didn't do as well technically.
Yeah, he had a bad crash and he still got fourth or fifth or something. Yeah,
and the field was way better.
Listen, the guy's pure talent. That's for sure. When he races, it's the win. That's why I say it's a good thing that they don't put him with Pogačar anymore, because you can clearly see that that's not in his DNA. He's not a helper, and he's never going to be. And he's never been. Since he's a junior, he's been a leader, a winner, won everything in the youth categories, and then in under 23. I think he was only there for 1 year, but, he was, always the guy, So then on top of that, if you turn pro and in your first year as a 19-year-old, you're third in the Vuelta, well, I mean, that's kind of, says something about your qualities. So he's going to the Giro to be the leader. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Adam Yates is also going to the Giro.
I mean, maybe I'm shoveling dirt on these guys too early.
He is going to the Giro. He is going to the Giro, Adam Yates.
Do you think a full strength? I don't know. Maybe I'm overestimating Ayuso, but I feel like it's his time, and Roglic and Yates could be not as good as they were in the past.
Yeah. Listen, that's for sure. Roglic and Adam Yates are obviously at in the downward curve of their career, but still strong, still capable of being in front in Grand Tours, and
probably better at dealing with the chaos of the Giro that will inevitably arise.
Yeah.
Let's say Ayuso wins the Giro. What's his future at UAE? Like, I just can't imagine he's going to be happy contesting the Giro and the Vuelta.
I think he needs to leave UAE. It's not going to be easy because he's like, the adopted son of Machin. On top of it, he has a long-term contract, a big contract, and an extremely high buyout clause. So not easy, but I think a guy like Ayuso with his ambition and his personality needs to be on another team than Pogačar.
Maybe Pogačar is the one that gets the boot. They send him back.
I don't think so, man.
This happened
if I were UAE, I would never let that happen. But you never know.
In the NBA, recently, it wasn't quite like that, but it was not far off that a team kicked out a generationally good player and people are losing their minds over it. But it did make me wonder. I'm like, could UAE get rid of Pogačar? Is that actually possible? But before we take off, Johan, a few things I wanted to ask you about. Total Energies is like a news item that came up recently. Total Energies and Ineos are apparently merging for 2026. Or
I don't know if it's a merge. I've seen that also. It's like, there's this rumor that the Total Energies, the company, would be the co-sponsor of Ineos. Ineos has already said that they're looking for a second sponsor. Obviously, if you get Total Energies, it's a huge company. They have
and they're also looking for a second sponsor too. So it's two teams that need a new sponsor.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it would be a merge. Probably be like Total Energies goes to be the sponsor of Team Ineos and probably takes a few. I mean, they can't sponsor both teams. That's, at least not as a title or naming sponsor. Maybe there's a way around it, because obviously Total Energies, they have a lot of subsidiary companies. So maybe they keep the French team alive with a subsidiary and like a pure French brand, and then Total Energies becomes the co-sponsor of Ineos, which is more international. I've heard this rumor already a few months ago from somebody within Ineos, but I'm still having a hard time to see it happen.
How?
French company sponsoring a British team. I don't know. Listen, maybe there's other interests, okay, we all know that Radcliffe, Ineos, they are in petrochemicals, right? So that's obviously also, there could be a link there, like business-wise, which goes beyond the interest of cycling. I don't know. We'll see.
Let's say it happened. How does that work with the contracts? Is it basically just Total, the team is dissolving, they go sponsor Ineos, and then if they want Anthony Turgis, they would have to recruit him separate from his contract he has.
That's the difficulty. I mean, that's why I say a merger is not going to be possible. A merger, I don't see it happen. Now, what also could be the case is that, which is a scenario that I could envision, is that Radcliffe basically, midterm, like not short term, but like in a few years, or this could be the first move. I think I said this in another podcast already, that this could be the first move towards selling his team. Is that Total Energies becomes a co-sponsor. They kind of find a solution to keep, for the moment, the French pro team alive with another company of them, and then gradually get into being the only sponsor of Ineos. That could be something that to think about.
It's kind of like the Ralph Denk move, where I think he sold 51% of Bora, the team. So he's like found someone to come on, sponsor the team, buy him out. And I guess what I don't fully understand is in that, Total's kind of stuck in no man's land because they're a second division team. Maybe they would get a wild card at the Tour, but they're not going to finish.
No, not maybe. For sure.
But
for sure.
Let's get a wild card. What do you think that's imperiled with the rise of, like, essentially we have too many teams right now because we have so many good second division teams like Q36.5, Tudor, Uno X, soon to be Astana. If not Astana, then Cofidis. What happens if Cofidis falls out of the World Tour? Then Total's really squeezed, and they almost need to get smaller and be like just for up and coming French riders, and then have Ineos, and you could send the talented riders up there.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a good point, Spencer, because that's also something I would like to talk about. Is that I'm sure you've seen it, that there's this debate now whether at the request of ASO and RCS, the Giro, there's this request to add an extra wild card, so that instead of 22 teams, it would be 23 teams. And the UCI has put out a statement saying that on the 26th of March, the Pro Cycling Council, which is something that they have there within the UCI. It's the UCI, but they just name it something else, so it looks like it's somebody else who's decided, right? The Pro Cycling Council is going to vote on whether a 23rd team is allowed or not. So this has come up in a few weeks, and I actually put out a tweet. I would like to read it about this. Says that UCI Cycling and David Lapartien will decide on March 26th on an extra wild card for the 3 Grand Tours. They state that it's the Pro Cycling Council who will vote and decide on this request from the 3 Grand Tours. The Pro Cycling Council is nothing more than a charade to make it seem more formal. Most of the big World Tour teams are against this idea of a 23rd team. But I have news for everyone. The Pro Cycling Council will not decide on March 26th because it's already decided. If ASO made this request, Lapartien has already granted them this request. He will camouflage this grant with the Pro Cycling Council's so-called vote. What ASO wants is what ASO gets. As simple as that. The UCI rules clearly state that there's a maximum of 22 teams in the 3 Grand Tours, but with the current president, this doesn't matter. He gladly modifies the rules in the interest of the biggest power in cycling, ASO. I said, isn't that so, Mr. Lapartien? And then I said also, I will repost this on March 26th with the mention, I told you so.
Calling your shot. I mean, what did you say? You're exactly right. If they've made the request, it's already been approved.
Yeah. So this is the way it works. The way it's structured, the way the UCI is structured. And I mean, in this case, I'm saying the UCI because I know how mechanically it works. There's all these different names. The Pro Cycling Council, the UCI Management Commission, or stuff like that. But it's pure formal. All these meetings that happen and they vote. The votes is decided already. I've been part of some of these meetings, and it was frustrating to see that, it was all decided already on beforehand. Doesn't matter. They just bring other people to the table to make it seem like you have a say, but the UCI is always a majority. If there's a certain commission where there's 10 members, and they're going to say, okay, 1 represented for the teams, 1 for the riders, 1 for the organizers, 1 for this, but there's always going to be 6 of the UCI, always. So you can never win, right? But they do this to make it seem like they listen and they take into account the votes of other stakeholders. So this is what's going to happen anyway. So anyway,
can you imagine?
Lapartien is busy now with his IOC.
Yeah, I don't buy that. That's not happening.
Well, you want to know? Look, fun fact. Somebody, I won't name him, but somebody with history in the UCI sent me this. It's a poll. I mean, we all know that Lapartien is running for IOC president. He's already the president of the UCI. He's also the president of the French Olympic Commission. He's the mayor of his village. He's the president of his region, whatever. I mean, he has I think 8 or 9 official positions. And so there's a survey. There's this website. It's called Inside the Games. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah.
And so Inside the Games recently conducted a poll to gather the opinions of the followers on the candidate of the IOC presidency. This is obviously not relevant to the votes, because the votes of IOC president, it's 100 IOC members who vote. It's anonymous, so there's a lot of lobbying, corruption. People have interests. But anyways, the final results of the popularity of all the candidates is Sebastian Coe, 47%.
Who's like an Olympic legend.
He should be. There's no question. This guy should be the IOC president. Then there's Juan Antonio Samaranch, who is the son of former President Samaranch, 15.5%. Then Kirsty Coventry, 15.2%. Then Prince Faisal Al Hussein, 7.8%. Morinari Watanabe, 7%. Johan Eilash, 4%. And last but not least, David Lapartien, 3.5%. He has no chance.
What if he wins?
I'm going to say he has no chance, depending on this poll, right? I mean, he's strong at lobbying, but at the same time, I think this entrance for him in UCI presidency, he already knows he's not going to win, but he's there, and he's going to stay there until the next election. He's going to be there again, and ultimately, I mean, he's only 50, so all these guys are in their 60s. Some even 70. So he's gonna keep going for it. But for the moment, unfortunately, we will still have to deal with him for the next 4 to 8 years in cycling.
Unfortunately. So if I was a team, if I was a World Tour team who was paying a ton of money to stay in the World Tour, or if I was Israel Premier Tech and Lotto, and I worked my butt off to get automatic invites to these Grand Tours so I could go to the Tour de France, how annoyed would you be that they've just out of thin air added a wild card slot? That would be infuriating. But here's my question to you, Johan. Is this actually better for the sport? Because there are so many good second division teams. Is it better to get more good teams at the Tour?
No. I mean, no, it's not better. I mean, obviously it's great for those teams, but it's short-term vision. But it needs to remain select, The problem that the Tour de France has is that they have these French teams that they have to invite Total, and that's their problem because they have Tudor. I'm curious to see, Spencer. I'm not sure, but I'm curious to see Tudor as a company. I mean, they're very, very aggressive. I think if you've seen, who's the official timekeeper of certain races, they're everywhere. Next step is going to be they're going to be sponsoring the Tour. Is it Tissot still now? I don't remember if it's Tissot or
I think so.
It's going to be Tudor in the future. If there's still a contract with Tissot this year, it's going to be Tudor in the future. So they can't say no to Tudor because on top of that, they have Alaphilippe, who's a darling in France. And so they have a problem. Uno X, they should take Uno X because it's a great team and they've been in it already. And I mean, normally it should be Tudor, I think, and Total. So they have a problem. They have a problem with Uno X and Q36.5. I don't know if Q36.5 since Pidcock is probably not going to race the Tour, then it's probably not that interesting for the Tour to invite them this year, right?
And they're the weakest of all those teams, from a full roster perspective.
Yeah.
But you're right. The French de facto auto invite screws everything up because Uno X should be at the Tour de France. That's an amazing team who works their butt off and races in an exciting way. Tudor should probably be there. And then, they have to invite Total. And then eventually Q36.5 will be good. I would guess. So then they should be there too, probably. And then whatever. I mean, it actually get big problems. If Cofidis gets relegated, you have even bigger problems because. Yeah.
Well, they're starting to wanting to create a precedent, right? I mean, if the 23rd team is accepted this year, it's going to be accepted next year. If one of those French teams gets out, if Cofidis gets out or Arkea gets out. I mean, Arkea, we don't know if it's still going to exist next year because the sponsorship is not going beyond 2025, I think. But they're already, creating a precedent, in case they're just changing the rules. They can always change the rules in the interest of somebody who has a lot of power.
Yes. And I mean, we've got to get you out of here, but here's a question for you from me. I know Tadej Pogačar's team is now worried about him crashing at Paris-Roubaix. They probably should have been worried about him crashing at Paris-Roubaix before he crashed at Strade Bianche. Do you think he's going to do Paris-Roubaix?
I don't know, Spencer. I really don't know. The team has stated that they would prefer him not to do it.
I think that's probably the right. Yeah. decision for them.
I agree, but then again, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a dangerous race. The chances of crashes are very high. It's not because he crashed in Strade Bianche, but Paris-Roubaix is just, in his case, is just asking for problems, right? Because there you get into sectors and nobody respects nobody. It's like a war to get in. He's a great bike rider. He's a great bike handler, has a strong team, but still, it's dangerous. I don't know. I would prefer he doesn't do Paris-Roubaix. I would prefer that.
We
want all of these great riders full engine at the Tour.
We're stepping in. You guys are done. You got to stop racing before the Tour. And then it's just an interesting question that someone sent in, Matthew sent in, that I was wondering about too. I'm going to shorten their question, but basically, why is Mathieu van der Poel not focused on the green jersey at the Tour? He seems right in that league with Wout and Sagan. It seems like now would be the time for someone of his skill set to focus on it. He's already won everything else that would matter, and the Tour matters the most. I agree with that sentiment. Why? Yeah. Why does he have no interest in the green jersey? It's just other thing. He's interested in other things during the summer.
I think a green jersey in Mathieu van der Poel's career means nothing. It's okay. It's nice.
A little dismissive to everyone who works their butt off to win a green jersey.
No, I know. But listen, if you're, I don't know how many times he's world champion now. Like in different, like more than 10 times already in different disciplines. So, no. Plus, I mean, if he almost can't go for the green jersey, because if he does the Tour, there's Philipsen. He does lead outs for Philipsen. He can't sprint for himself. That's a bunch of points. So no, I don't think it will ever be a focus for him.
That's a great point. It doesn't really fit with the team's goals, I guess. And then he's clearly figured something out where he can be amazing when he needs to be amazing at these big races, and then almost uses the Tour as like a training camp or something. He's clearly not at his best, but then he just ramps it back up after the Tour. So maybe he doesn't want to mess with that formula. Isn't he going for the mountain bike world championships this year?
He is. Yeah, he is.
Yeah. So
he said that he finds the Tour boring. Because
how many riders get away with?
He's there without any specific ambitions, So I mean, you can see it also in his demeanor, Like whenever it's not a stage for him, he's like, okay, it doesn't really matter, doesn't care. Is there, then he goes to the front and the final of the stage to do the lead out for Philipsen, and that's it, job done.
I was watching him at the final time trial of last year's Tour, and it looked like he would look like someone that was on a training ride. He's just like cruising around on his road bike. It's like, this guy is not taking it seriously. But yeah, I guess it's the curse of being so good at everything. It probably does seem boring to him. Maybe he'll change his mind in the future, but yeah, he doesn't seem to have the Tour bug at all.
No.
Johan, do you have anything else to add before we take off?
That's it for me, Spencer.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And we'll be back with the Move episode on Monday to talk about Paris-Nice and Tirreno-Adriatico.
Okay. Speak soon.
Talk to you later. Bye.